That was almost perfect, right? I mean, like the timing was perfect. No? Okay. That's my bad, everybody. Apologies. We're back. We're here. We're jumping into it again, and we'll make up some break time for you on the back end. So that's my assurance to you. But here we are, moving right along in Accelerate 2021 with our next presenter. We have an amazing speaker, the amazing SDR Trifecta, presented by David Dulany, CEO of Tenbound. If you haven't heard about them, great organization. Should definitely check them out. David is, actually the founder and CEO of Tenbound. They are a research and advisory firm. They're focused on sales development, right? They're focused on what matters most to most of us that are here today. So in addition to that, he's got extensive personal experience in sales development as a producer, as a manager, and he also recently co-authored the sales development framework, right? Which is how to build and scale a highly productive sales development program. So more on that coming to you from David himself. Let's get him on stage and get going. Let's see. Voila. All right, David.
All right. Thanks, David.
Welcome back. Yeah, so just to keep things simple for everyone, much like we do here at Outplay, you're all welcome to, at least during this session, and longer if you want to, refer to me as YB or Youngblood is what the team calls me, because we have two Davids here at Outplay as well. So we'll keep that part easy for chat. Again, use the chat, use the Q&A session, and feel free to tag, share, comment on LinkedIn and other social as well. And with that, David, we'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled. Thank you so much for having me on and being able to spend some time with the group. I'm really excited to be here for Accelerate, and it's just been a great show so far, and it's an honor to be here. So I hope that I really want to add value and give you some tactical strategies and tips today, and make it as interactive as possible. So YB, you'll be in the comments and
Yes, I will.
questions. Just jump in anytime and let me know, how we can, help people more with this material.
Perfect.
As YB mentioned, I run Tenbound, which is a research and advisory firm that's focused on the SDR space. So essentially anything that has to do with building predictable pipeline for B2B companies. And we primarily work with software as a service companies in helping them with their strategy and their tactics and their people, and anything that helps to drive that pipeline process. And we work with a number of teams here in Silicon Valley and beyond, and we started to see patterns of what really makes a great SDR. And so whether you're running an SDR team or doing enablement for the SDR team, or you're an SDR, you're trying to think of what really makes somebody successful in this role, and how can we sort of bottle that and give at least a sort of a map to be able to develop yourself or your team into somebody who's just absolutely crushing the job and making a big impact. And we kind of boiled it down into what I'll be talking about today, which is the amazing SDR trifecta. And I've got some notes here that we can go through. And you'll see if you head over to the Tenbound website, I'll give you the website. We're really into Venn diagrams. So we kind of boiled it down, answering the question, what makes an amazing SDR? What makes somebody, get promoted faster, make a bigger impact, drive more pipeline, and just, be able to support the sales team in the best way possible as an SDR. And I use the term SDR interchangeably, whether it's BDR, LDR, etc. It's the team that's driving pipeline for the company, setting up appointments and doing all those activities. So how do we boil down the big three? And also, in the overlapping sections, if you have two of these big three, but you're missing one of them, what ends up being the end result? And we often see that one, two, or three of these aspects are really lacking in the development and the skill set of the SDR team. And those are some of the weak spots that we need to work on. So let's dive in. So what are the big three? So we essentially boil them down to industry and persona knowledge, prospecting and general sales skills, and then that gritty entrepreneurial mindset. So the mindset that drives the behavior behind being a great SDR. So if you look at the way that training and coaching runs in most SDR programs, especially in a remote environment, there could be one, two, or three of these missing right from the beginning. You might get a little bit of product training, learn the tools, learn how to use Outplay and your CRM, etc. Maybe get a little bit of product training from your product manager, and you're on your own, basically. Okay, so go get it, right? But there's some major things missing here, and this is what we've seen not only in companies that we've worked with, but also just in my past. I ran SDR programs for 7 years before starting Tenbound, and I noticed that there were certain SDRs that were on the team that absolutely crushed it and were able to, like I said, get promoted faster, gain more respect, get more appointments, and generally make a bigger impact. So they had these three ingredients. Okay, so let's dive in. So ingredient number one, 1A, and then I'll go into 1B. So ingredient 1B, industry knowledge. And you could call this also a sort of a business acumen. So how much do you really know about the overall industry that you're calling out to? And how much do you really, how comfortable are you talking about their business issues? And so this really has nothing to do necessarily with the product that you're selling and the product that you're representing when you're doing your outreach or you're following up with leads, but it's actually the business issues that the folks that are either reaching out to you or you're reaching out to are grappling with every day from a business perspective. The industry that you're calling on has its own certain vocabulary. It's got its own way of talking about problems. It's got its own way of talking about the present and the future of the industry. And if you're coming in from the outside and you really have no idea of any of these aspects, then immediately there's issues with your messaging and your credibility and the ability to actually speak with the prospects. So thing number one is, how great are you at becoming fluent in the industry that you're talking to? And so if you're talking to multiple industries, we're talking, and this is a long process, it's a long game, but maybe just a few minutes a day in understanding the major business problems, the major vocabulary, and the struggles that the industry is going through as a whole, and then tying that back to how your specific products helps to solve those. So how well can you rate yourself on your industry knowledge? The next is your persona knowledge. So within that industry, there's the accounts, and then the accounts are essentially a group of people, whether they're the high-level decision makers, the middle managers, or the end users of your product. And within that group of people, there's generally a set of 3 to 5 major issues and pain points and problems that those people are trying to solve. So again, it goes back to how comfortable are you talking first and foremost about the overall personas that you're going after. So do you know their general titles? Do you know their general position within the company? Do you know the major milestones that they're trying to achieve, within their company. And obviously you're not going to have to know everything about everybody, but 3 to 5 major pain points that they're trying to solve, at all 3 of those levels. So the decision maker level, the middle manager level, and at the end user level. How well do you know your personas that you're calling after? And what's their usual day like? What's their usual level of experience? How do they get into the job? What's their vocabulary, and where do they go to learn about new trends within the marketplace? How comfortable are you talking about that with them? And so, if you're coming in new to this industry, you're coming in new to understanding these personas. This is your challenge over the next 3, 6, 9 months, to really start to go into some in-depth knowledge of what these people are actually going through, because they're people, right? They're the best SDRs realize they're not just names and phone numbers and emails, in your outplay sequence, right? They're actual people dealing with real problems. How well can you regurgitate those problems back and understand how they tie into the solution that you're providing? So, and I'll give you some tactical tips on how to do that if you're running a team or you're an SDR yourself. So the next part of the puzzle here is, the second big one is your prospecting and sales skills. So this is going to be the books, the training courses, the online courses that you go through that teach you the tactical skills of how to make a cold call, to write an email, to respond back when somebody is getting ready to hang up on you. All those tactical tools and tips that are available out there, and especially as an SDR, it's your own whole set of sales skills that you have to learn that's specific to being an SDR. And that's you're the opener, right? You're the person that has to make the initial call and get 5 seconds on the phone with somebody. You're the person that has to write the amazing email sequence to be able to send it out. So those communication skills, the soft skills of prospecting, of doing an opener, objection handling, rebuttals, coming back with a general overview of the pain points that people have, having that so refined to the point where, combined with the knowledge that you have, also having the prospecting skills, makes you unstoppable. And all of those training courses are out there. And like I said, I'll give you some tactical tips. If your company is not providing you any training, you're going to have to go out and get it yourself. And so let's talk about the real key here that underpins the whole trifecta, and that is your mindset. And nobody really talks about this, but this has become even more important as we go into the second year now of COVID, and a lot of SDRs are working from home. So if you think about it, you're completely isolated. At least in the old days, you had your group of 5 or 10 compatriots there who you could lean on and make friends with, and you had your manager offering spot coaching and stuff like that. Now you're completely on your own. So how do you get up every day and stay motivated and stay engaged and keep being curious and focused on the end result that you're trying to? It all comes down to your mindset and how you can actually stay motivated and stay engaged in the fact that you might be an SDR for 1, 2, 3, 4 years sometimes. If you're building your skills, but there's no necessarily a promotion path for your company, how do you stay into this? And hey, beyond that, a great SDR is absolutely invaluable to a company. and you can get into crazy. I mean, if you go, there's a website called RepView, and especially in Silicon Valley, I mean, great SDRs are making up to 6 figures right now on target, and that's real dollars that they're making. So, but it takes a while to get to that range, and your mindset is absolutely critical. So how do you stay within that positive, constructive, curious mindset that makes you want to learn about the industry, that makes you want to learn more about the personas, that makes you want to pursue prospecting and sales training classes to become better, at those soft skills. So, it's very important to think about the mindset and bringing those all together. So, okay. So hopefully I've convinced you that you got to have all three. And now let's think about, if you don't, and you're missing one of the pieces. So this I see this a lot. It's like you've got 2 of the 3, but you're not quite there on the one of them. So let's say you're really good at the industry knowledge and the persona. So I'll give you an example. I used to run a cybersecurity SDR team at a company that got bought out by Cisco, and they were calling on cybersecurity professionals who were extremely hardcore. They would give you literally 5 seconds on the phone, and I mean, if you couldn't talk the talk and say something, that was interesting about a pain point that they specifically had, that you were toast. And I found that the number one SDR always on the team was somebody who had the industry and persona knowledge and knew enough about the industry and the persona to be able to say something interesting within those first 5 seconds. And they were also incredibly gritty and entrepreneurial. They could bounce back after theoretically, getting punched in the face over the phone over and over and over again, because they had that right mindset. But they were unable to handle if somebody was mean to them on the phone, or their emails were not getting any response, or they were being treated poorly, or something like that, because they didn't know how to handle objections, and they didn't know how to articulate a good opener. So they didn't have the prospecting and sales skills. So they were working. I mean, especially with the entrepreneurial mindset, working their butt off, excuse me, and not getting any results because they didn't know how to handle an objection. They didn't know how to open a call, etc. So great first steps, but you're still going to be working really, really hard with no results. The other one is you're really good at handling objections, and you're really good at pitching at the beginning of your sales call, and everything's going great in that respect, but you get knocked out too easily. You have the industry vocabulary, you know what the pain points are, but you get knocked out too easily. So you get on, you give the perfect pitch, you handle objections, and let's face it, the prospects are still mean to you, or they insult you personally, etc. So then you don't have the right mindset, you get knocked out, so for the rest of the afternoon, and now we're working from home, right? So the rest of the afternoon, you're eating, Ben and Jerry's ice cream and watching Netflix, right? We've all been there. But, if that happens too much and you're not holding yourself accountable because you don't have the right mindset, then you're going to, have a couple of good months, but there could be months that pass where you don't get anything, right? Because you couldn't motivate yourself and keep going. Okay, so now, great. We've got the prospecting skills. We're really good at that. We're totally down for the job and keep going. And even if we get knocked down, we get back up, right? Remember that old song, I get knocked down, I get back up. and we keep going forward no matter what, because we see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? But you get on and you get somebody on the phone, you get somebody over email, you get somebody on LinkedIn, and you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what their pain points are. All you are is another person talking about how great your company is. And nobody cares about your company. Like nobody cares about your product. They care about the problem that they're trying to solve. And if you can't articulate that problem back to them through your persona and industry knowledge, then they're just going to think you're just another annoying pest. Delete your email, delete your phone. So you've got no credibility, right? Also, it shows, the people at your company that you're just here to basically collect a paycheck. Like you don't really care about cybersecurity professionals. You don't really care about whatever the industry or the people that you're calling on. You're here to pick up a paycheck, work for 8 hours or whatever, 3 hours, and knock off, right? So you're not building credibility within your organization either. You don't know anything about the industry and the people and the latest trends and all that stuff. So it's just like, why would I want to promote you to be a sales rep here at my company? Or if you don't want to get into sales, like, why would I put you into marketing? You don't know anything about the industry. Why would I put you into customer success? You don't care about the people that we're calling, right? So, that you got to have all three of these things, or else you don't have any credibility. So that's what brings together the Venn diagram to bring you in the middle, gives you the ability to really step up and really show not only to drive better performance, but to show your company, what you can actually do. And so there's a couple of comments. YB, I don't know if you're still on, but let me see here. Anybody have? There's some chats. There's a lot of chats.
Yeah, you're quite popular, actually. I'm definitely still here.
Okay.
Got your back like a chiropractor, so no worries there. You've definitely got a lot of interesting thoughts coming from the group. So we'll start with question one and kind of
Yeah.
work away up from there. So the first question is like when you're presenting, overall content and the kind of the three-prong approach, right? How do you balance all three, right? So
Yeah.
how can someone reasonably keep themselves accountable to balancing all three and keeping them all top of sight, top of mind without losing focus on what matters most?
Yeah. So and it's a long game. I mean, and that's what's really hard about this is you've got a tremendous amount of pressure from your manager and your boss to create results immediately, right? They want the results yesterday. But in order to become successful in this takes time, especially the industry and persona knowledge. So how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Just chunk out 30 minutes a day. There's got to be 30 minutes a day somewhere within your program, where you can do some self education. And I actually, the next part of the show here is, I've got some very specific tactics that you can use. There you go. To do this. And thing number one is, if you don't have this, go get a good pen. And it doesn't have to be this specific brand, but just get a notebook, like a regular old school paper notebook. And I know I'm old and stuff, but this is there's something about the pen to the paper that connects. I think there's a scientific, connection there. The pen to the paper on a notebook. Make this your own personal playbook and throw 30 minutes a day, no more, no less, at starting to develop these.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just sharing
Cool.
my notebook. Elliot has one as well. It's called the Remarkable Two. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds and allows you to capture notes, and then you can send them electronically. It connects to Wi-Fi. You can send them to yourself as well. But whatever it is, definitely have a good note-taking approach, and that is definitely, for some reason for me, like just writing it down by hand is that much more memorable, right, and or impactful than just typing something up. So
Yep,
definitely.
definitely.
So next question, we have some people feel that opening is more difficult than closing. right, in the sales process. What are your thoughts, David?
I mean, it's all difficult, right? And that's why they put the expensive alcohol on the top shelf, right? Because you got to earn your way up there, right? So all of this stuff is difficult. And that's why, especially if you become a top producing enterprise sales rep at like a publicly traded company, you can make $1 million a year. I'm not kidding. And people, it's a sales has become very touchy feely over the last few years, which is great, because it used to be very testosterone
Not
driven.
HR friendly for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So which is great. So I'm glad that we have empathy now, and we're trying to be more engaging and stuff like that. But the bottom line is, if you get good at this, you can really make a big impact. A lot of top performing salespeople make more than the owners of the company. I know that that's true at Tenbound. So not to
All
put
right.
anybody on the spot, but the point I'm trying to make is, look at this long term as a long term career thing, and d- going back to that trifecta, dive in, because this is where you want to spend time to get good at opening and get good at closing. If and I won't rehash it, but if you're really good at all three of those, man, you're going to be super successful at both ends.
Absolutely. All
Yeah.
right, we got another one. If you're ready, you want a sip of water or something, you're welcome to.
Sure.
I'll read through this next question. I know how it goes. So next question is from Brian. As an SDR, when you're feeling unmotivated, right?
Yeah.
Which happens for all of us. It's a roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster. At times a spiritual roller coaster. The life of sales. So what are some tactics or best practices you have to get back on track and get your mindset back into the right place, back in the game?
Yeah, I mean, that could be the whole webinar, right? I mean, because it's so
Well, it sounds
easy.
like we got some content for Q1. So I just heard a verbal commitment from you to join
That's
me in Q1 to talk about back on track. And that actually probably fits with the new year, new goals, and seasonal transition. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No,
yes,
that's okay. I mean, the mindset is huge, man, and nobody talks about that really. I mean, and so, specifically for the person that wrote that, some of the best advice that I've ever gotten, it was actually for like a founder entrepreneur group, is, how do I become successful as an entrepreneur? And this one guy wrote back and said, just get ripped. And and basically what that means is, we get so bogged down in our computers and our digital life and looking at our phones, that we kind of forget about the physical side, that we're actually, a human being that's not like a machine. And your moods are going to go up and down, and the clients are going to be mean to you, the prospects are going to be mean, you're going to get into a rut. But the only thing that you have control over is, how are you sleeping? How's your physical activity level? Are you exercising enough? Are you eating right? Are you
self-care.
really taking care of yourself? Especially with the young SDRs, they're burning both ends. I mean, they're going out and just get raging all weekend, and then you come back in and you're just like, I got to call some people. You gotta remember to take really good care of yourself. The other quick thing is, you got to remember, there's three parts of your mind. They call it, like, I got this from a guy
The
named Darren.
id,
Yeah, go ahead.
the id, right? You're
Right.
talking about the id, the ego.
Well,
Um,
a different way to think about it is, you've got sort of the sage mind, the robot mind, and the monkey mind, and so we all have those throughout the day. And the robot mind is just your everyday habitual patterns that you're in. And the robot's going to do the same thing every day. The monkey mind wants entertainment and new and fun things, and click, 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 right, on social media, and just wants a distraction all the time. And your sage mind is the one that probably made you tune into this, which is that executive part. And it's the planning, and it's the goal setting, and it's the clear focus part of your mind. And you only are in that mind frame for like 5 to 10% of the day. And so when you feel that you're in that sage open mind, force yourself to do some that creative, tough activity, the strategy, writing the new email, making the really tough phone call, utilizing that time, because it closes. And then next thing you know, you get tired and you're in robot and monkey mind, being
Yeah,
distracted, and things just could go completely off the rails.
absolutely. So that's an interesting. I like yours better. It relates better to me in terms of understanding, especially for this application.
Mhm.
Formerly, I've been taught the superego, ego, and the id, right? Kind of our base core functionality as a being, right? And then our wants and needs as a being, and then the executive level of thinking. So
Yeah,
absolutely. Good
exactly.
deal. Another good question. So, what about having a strong work ethic, right? Not lying to prospects, in
Yeah.
addition to being authentic and human.
Yeah, I mean, so your work ethic, your
Yep,
work ethic, right?
that
That's a
thing.
tough one. That's kind of in the mindset category, right? Because if you're there's all different types of people. The really really hardcore work ethic type of people are going to be performing more activities, learning more about the industry and persona, taking more sales training classes on their own, staying up all night, sending more emails, making more calls. I mean, there's just more activity happening, right? And especially if you're I mean, this is some of the stuff I'm going to give you, but if you're making a ton of mistakes and you're learning from those and writing them down in your notebook and trying to improve, you're going to run laps around somebody who's
Yep,
lets their robot and monkey mind take over, and they're out, on Netflix for half the day. So
yep.
so that work ethic is critical. It's part of the mindset. Yeah.
I got to get with my team. We Netflix owes us a check. We've been unofficially sponsoring Netflix for 2 days now, in our references to them. So you're welcome, Netflix, and we'll take the check later. But
It's
absolutely. So got another
it's
good question.
tempting.
Do
Yeah.
what?
It's tempting for sure. I mean, especially now that you work from home, and just it made me think if you're in a rut and you're like, I haven't set a meeting for 3 days and I can't make another cold call and I just can't do this anymore, you may need to take a mental health day and just go leave your computer at home. Don't take any, you know, electronics. Just bring your notebook and just write out, meditate, write out some things, like see how you're feeling. Try to get back into that sage mind, when you come back, because then you'll see the bigger picture of what you're doing.
Perfect. Perfect. Self-care again. Definitely a theme here. Um, we got about 3 minutes left, time check wise. So just following up on that, we got two more questions right here for now. But again, if you have questions, everyone, feel free to submit them. Whatever we aren't able to get to today, we will be getting to in a follow-up via LinkedIn. We'll make sure to tag you as well if you'd like. So that'll be coming up shortly, as well as, of course, a poll here at the end of the section. But another question for you here, David. In a remote world, right, which is kind of the new normal, where we're onboarding people without meeting them face to face, how do you capture the ability and or as a leader drive this mindset and ensure that these new resources are aligned to your company culture, your company values and ethics?
Yeah, definitely. So I tend to look at it, if you're an SDR, you're pretty much on your own. I mean, at the end of the day, the company can give you some training, which is awesome. And so again, take advantage of all the training that they're giving you. Read all the stuff that comes in from the marketing department on personas and the industry. And this is where work ethic comes in, right? Watch all the webinars and read all the case studies and really really dive in, lean into the job itself. Because if you're lucky enough to have a company that has a manager, an SDR manager, and some enablement for you, really take advantage of that and put it all in. I'm assuming a lot of the times that you don't have that. And so you're going to have to make your own destiny here, and take advantage of any resources you can get from the company, and then make your own playbook, basically.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you got to be resourceful. I've also heard that as a theme during and throughout the event. Be resourceful. Use your resourcefulness and initiative, to quote another favorite author of mine, Stephen R. Covey, right, from 7 Habits. Use your R&I, right? Go. You have a problem, identify it, and AJ talked about it earlier. Be a part of the solution, not the problem, right? It's one thing to bring a problem to somebody's attention, but bring it to the attention with a proposed solution that can be approved or amended, right? Making it easier to enable your leadership to make your job in life easier. One more question. From Selena again. Hi, Selena. What are your thoughts on helping SDRs learn to prioritize?
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, you can kind of reverse engineer the result that you're looking for. So you're trying to set up a meeting or set up an appointment. What are all the steps that go into actually doing that? And just make a list. There's probably like 4 or 5 things that you have to do in order to do that. And then I'll just challenge you that spend more time on that list that you made, specifically doing those activities, and bringing in the knowledge and skills that you're learning in the other 2 quadrants, writing down what's working and what's not, and then doing more and more and more until you start to see better results.
Got it. Awesome.
Shiny objects are everywhere. Your monkey mind wants to pursue them, and the best people can ignore them for longer than most of us and get a lot more done.
Mitigate the monkey mind for alliteration and as a takeaway. Got it. I'll be writing that down.
YB, I had some specific tactics that people can take away, and I'll post the deck on SlideShare, and we'll have the recording. So if anybody wants to dive in further and dive in, I didn't realize the time would go by so fast. So I'm happy to jump on further and dive into those.
No, that's quite all right. This is probably the best I've done at cutting it off at time, and I'm still late. So, but thank you very much for putting that to SlideShare and making sure that we can get that to everyone. And thank you again so much for joining us in our inaugural first ever edition of Accelerate 2021 Day 2 here with David Dulany of Tenbound. What we'll do now is, again, as we've been doing, is transition to a poll. Go ahead and jump into the lobby booth, get engaged, network, talk to each other, or go catch up on LinkedIn for a little bit. But we'll see you all back here in about 3 minutes with our next and final session for Accelerate 2021. Thanks so much.